Hi, my name is Amy Pollokoff, and I'm here today baking a favorite recipe of my grandmother's called Russian tea cookies. This is a tradition that my grandmother started over 60 years ago, and I bake 21 of her recipes and have an open house on Rosh Hashanah. I've chosen the Russian tea cookie today because it was one of her favorites, and it's pretty easy for everybody to make. So here we go. So in making the Russian tea cookies, it's very important to cream the butter and sugar well. That is the first thing that my grandmother told me. The first thing we're going to do is put in 1 cup of butter that I've had out for about a half an hour softening because it just makes it a lot easier. We're going to start mixing the butter and just get it creamy. And once it's softened enough, just turn it to slow and we add powdered sugar that I pre-measured and sifted. We're just going to let this blend really well. For my grandmother, if it's not mixed well, the cookie doesn't turn out. The Russian tea cookie is a very dry, almondy, pasty cookie, but it is a crowd favorite. After it mixes well, before I add any other ingredients, I like to make sure I've scraped everything off the sides. And then just blend it again. And once it's gotten very creamy, you can add your liquid, which is a teaspoon of vanilla and a teaspoon of almond extract. Just want to get everything well blended at a time. Don't add everything too quickly. So again, we'll just scrape down the sides and make sure everything is blended. You can already see the texture is very pasty, which this cookie is. And once this is blended well, on the lowest setting, you just slowly add the flour, which has a teaspoon of salt in it. And once that's blended, add the remaining flour. You'll see that it's very dry looking. It stays that way for a while until it is well blended, so don't let that be of a concern to you. So it'll take a few minutes to get blended well. So I'll be incorporating 3/4 of a cup of ground blanched almonds. In my grandmother's day, she used a hand chopper to grind any of her nuts because, again, she started this 60 years ago. And believe it or not, the almonds actually will add moisture to the batter. Okay, so the next thing that I typically do is I put it in a metal bowl and I form it into a ball. So you'll see it's still a little bit crummy, but usually I will form it into a ball and put it into the refrigerator for an hour because that makes it easier to scoop later. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do is make maybe a golf ball sized ball. Just gently roll it between your hands. I put everything on a parchment lined cookie sheet. I just find that the cookies don't burn that way and they really cook a lot better, and the cleanup is also a lot easier. One of the really nice things about this holiday as far as continuity is that my grandmother started it 60 years ago. When I first did it, I invited everybody that went to her house to my house. And people would walk in and say, "Did you make the cookie? It looks like this and it has this shape, and I'm really hoping you made that cookie because it was my favorite." And I would lead them over to the table and they would see the cookie and they would be so excited to see that cookie. And now the kids that grew up going to her party, their kids and their grandchildren are now coming to my party, which just again creates the continuity, which I think would have made my grandmother so happy. I just press it down a little, I'll check them. And then this is gonna go right into the middle rack of the oven at 275 for 15 minutes. And that's it. So my grandmother started this holiday 60 years ago, and she wanted to have a sweet new year by including her friends at an open house after services on Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah. I grew up going there. It was my entire life. She developed Alzheimer's after about 30 years and was unable to do it anymore because she couldn't remember what she had put in the cookies. I told my husband one day that I missed it so much, and he said to me, "Then why don't you just do it?" I didn't think I could pull off what she did, and I was working full time and had 2 young children. So I went and met with her the summer before the first one, and I went through her recipe box, which is unbelievable, and looked at the picture of her at her table and asked her what each of the cookies were so we could find the recipe. I took notes and I came home and practiced all summer, and eventually I did. And I had that first Rosh Hashanah, and she came to my house. She was still alive. She walked in the door. She didn't know where she was or who I was, but the minute she saw her table, my table, she said, "This is my table," because I used all of her silver platters. I used her punch bowl. I used the vase that she used for flowers and set the table the same way. It was really quite special to share that first time with her. I think tradition is so important today because we're all moving at such a fast pace. The kids are so busy, and it was so special for me to see my grandson for the first time, the older one, enjoy the holiday and look at the cookies and see how many he could have. My younger grandson is only 3 and hasn't been able to be at a lot of the holidays because I haven't been able to do it the last few years, but I look forward to sharing many more with him as he gets older. So when they come out of the oven, they're still very malleable and soft, so you don't really want to touch them right away. I have this wonderful powdered sugar mill that I just go over them with powdered sugar, and this covers any little foibles that might be in the cookie. Now we just let them cool with the first dusting of powdered sugar, and then we roll them before we put them away. Once they've cooled completely, you just lift them easily off the tray, put them in a bowl of powdered sugar, very simple. Make sure they're well coated all the way around and put them back on the tray. And you do that with all of the cookies. And again, you just want to make sure they are very cool before you put them away. And that's it.